Your desk isn't messy. It's arguing with you. Every pile of paper, every random cable, every "I'll deal with this later" object on your desk is quietly asking your brain a question every single time you sit down. What do I do with you? And your brain answers that question hundreds of times a day without you even noticing. That's not clutter. That's stolen attention. In Japan, the most productive offices don't look impressive. They look almost empty. And that emptiness isn't an accident. It's a system. Today, I'm going to show you 7 things Japanese people almost never keep on their desks, and the surprisingly simple reason their workdays feel shorter even when they're not working less. Stay until number 5, because that one is the reason most productive desk setups actually make you slower. And number 7 is something almost every home office in America has within arm's reach right now. Let's get into it. Here's something most people don't know. Japan didn't get minimalist desks from some ancient philosophy about Zen gardens. It came from factories. In the 1950s, Toyota engineers built a workplace system called 5S. 5 words, each starting with S. Sort, set in order, shine, standardize, sustain. The idea was brutally simple. If an object doesn't earn its place on your workspace, it doesn't belong there, because every object you can see is something your brain has to process, whether you're using it or not. That system moved from factory floors into offices, and now into how millions of Japanese workers treat their desks every single day. And here's the part that should get your attention. Studies on visual clutter have found that every extra object in your field of view competes for the same limited attention your brain has for actual work. Not metaphorically, literally. Your visual cortex processes clutter as competing information, whether you're looking at it or not. So, when a Japanese office worker clears their desk at the end of the day, they're not being tidy for the sake of tidy. They're protecting tomorrow's attention before tomorrow even starts. Let's go through the 7 things they almost never leave sitting out. And I promise, by number 3, you're going to look at your own desk differently. Number 1. Paper that doesn't have a job yet. You know this pile. It's not trash exactly. It's the printed invoice you'll deal with eventually, the flyer from a meeting, the sticky note with a phone number you might need. It's not urgent enough to act on, but not useless enough to throw away. So it just sits there, growing. In a lot of Japanese offices, there's a rule that's almost non-negotiable. Paper is either in a folder, in the trash, or being actively worked on right now. There is no 4th category, no pending pile, no "I'll sort this later" zone. Because that zone, if you're honest with yourself, never actually gets sorted. It just gets bigger. Here's the psychological piece, and this is the part that matters. Every time you glance at that pile, even for half a second, your brain quietly runs a tiny background process. What's in there? Do I need that? Should I deal with that now? You never consciously notice this happening, but it happens dozens of times a day, and each time, it pulls a sliver of attention away from whatever you were actually trying to focus on. A desk with a paper pile isn't a desk with clutter. It's a desk with dozens of tiny, unfinished decisions sitting in your peripheral vision, all day, every day. That's number 1. And it gets worse with number 2, because this one hides in plain sight. Number 2. Duplicate tools. 3 pens that all work. 2 staplers. A notepad, a sticky notepad, and a second notepad you started using because you couldn't find the first one. This is one of the sneakiest forms of desk clutter because none of these things feel like clutter individually. They all work. They're all useful. That's exactly the trap. The Japanese concept behind this is called ichimotsu ichiyaku, roughly one object, one purpose. Not one object per possible use case, one object, period. If you have two staplers, the honest question isn't which one do I use? It's why do I own a stapler I don't trust enough to rely on? Here's what duplicates actually cost you that most people never think about. Decision fatigue. Every time you reach for a pen and there are 3 sitting there, you make a tiny, meaningless choice. Which one? That decision costs you almost nothing in isolation, but you make it dozens of times across a workday on top of every other real decision you're already making. By 3 p.m., that adds up to real, measurable mental fatigue, and none of it was spent on anything that mattered. One pen, one notepad, one stapler you actually trust. That's it. Number 3 is the one that's going to feel personal, so brace yourself. Number 3. Personal objects facing you. Photos, figurines, souvenirs, the little plant, the mug from your last vacation, all facing directly into your line of sight while you work. Now, before you get defensive, I'm not telling you to remove everything personal from your desk. Japanese desks aren't cold or lifeless, but there's a specific placement rule that shows up again and again in Japanese workplace design. Personal objects live at the edge of your visual field, not the center of it. Beside you, behind you, never directly in your eye line while you're trying to focus. Why does this matter so much? Because your brain doesn't distinguish between "I'm looking at this on purpose" and "this is sitting in my direct line of sight." A photo of your family isn't just a warm reminder. Every single time your eyes drift to it, even for a fraction of a second, it pulls you, briefly, out of the task and into a different emotional and mental space. Multiply that by 100 glances a day, and you've spent real chunks of your focus somewhere other than your work, without ever deciding to. This isn't about caring less about the things that matter to you. It's about respecting your own attention enough to put those things where they can't quietly steal it 30 times an hour. Now here's number 4, and this is the one almost nobody expects. Number 4, the charging cable jungle. Look down at your desk right now. How many cables can you see? Phone charger, laptop charger, headphone cable, a mouse cable, maybe a spare charger just in case. All visible, all tangled or half-tangled, all just there. In Japanese offices, especially the newer, more design-conscious ones, cable management isn't treated as an aesthetic nice-to-have. It's treated the same way as noise control. Because visually, a tangle of cables reads to your brain as unresolved complexity, the same category as a messy pile of paper. It signals something here is unfinished, even though every single cable is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The fix Japanese offices use is almost embarrassingly simple. Cables go under the desk, through a clip or sleeve, completely out of the visual field. Every single one. Not because it looks nicer, although it does, but because your desk's surface is supposed to answer one question only: what am I working on right now? A visible cable jungle doesn't answer that question. It just adds noise to it. 5 minutes with a couple of cable clips solves this permanently. Most people just never do it because it never feels urgent enough to fix. It's not urgent. It's just quietly expensive every single day. Now let's talk about number 5, and this is the one that changes how you think about focus. Number 5. The phone, face up, in reach. This is the big one. This is the one I promised you at the start, because I think it's the single most underestimated desk habit there is. Not phone use, just the phone's presence. Face up, screen visible, within arm's reach, even if it's silent, even if it's on Do Not Disturb. There's a well-known study from the University of Texas that found something almost unbelievable. Simply having your phone visible on a desk, not using it, not even touched, just visible, measurably reduces available cognitive capacity. The mere presence of the device pulls a small, constant slice of your attention toward monitoring it, even when you're not consciously thinking about it at all. In many Japanese offices, phones are kept in a drawer, a bag, or face down out of the direct sight line during focused work blocks. Not as some extreme productivity hack, but as basic, common-sense practice. The logic is simple. If a tool isn't actively part of the task you're doing, it doesn't get a seat at the table. Here's the psychological reframe worth sitting with. Every time your phone is visible while you work, some part of your brain is quietly asking, "Did something happen? Should I check?" That question runs in the background the entire time your phone is in view, whether or not it ever buzzes. You're not just risking a distraction. You're paying a small, continuous attention tax for the entire session. Drawer, bag, another room, face down at minimum. That's the whole fix. Number 6 is smaller, but it stacks with everything before it. Number 6. Sticky notes as a memory system. A ring of colorful sticky notes around a monitor feels productive. It looks like someone who's organized, on top of things, tracking everything. In reality, it's often the opposite. The problem with sticky notes as your main system isn't the notes themselves. It's that they have no hierarchy. A note that says, "Call dentist," sits at the same visual weight as a note that says, "Finish the client proposal due today." Your brain has to resort the importance of everything every single time you glance at the monitor, because the sticky notes themselves carry zero information about priority. Japanese task management culture leans heavily on a completely different approach. A single written list, ranked by priority, reviewed and rewritten at the start of each day, sometimes literally called the one list in translation. Not 7 sources of half information scattered across your field of view. One list. One place your brain already knows to check. If sticky notes work for you as quick, temporary reminders, fine, that's not the issue. The issue is when they become your actual system, permanently ringing your monitor. Because at that point, they've become exactly the kind of low-grade visual noise every item on this list has been about. And now, number 7. The one I promise almost every home office in America has within arm's reach. Number 7. The drink you're not drinking anymore. The coffee mug that's gone cold. The water bottle you finished an hour ago. The energy drink can that's empty but hasn't made it to the trash. None of these are clutter in the traditional sense. They're just there, technically doing nothing, taking up space on a surface that's supposed to be dedicated entirely to your work. In Japanese office culture, there's a habit that gets taught almost like basic etiquette from your very first day at a company. Nothing finished stays on the desk. A cup gets rinsed and put away the moment it's empty, not at the end of the day, the moment it's done being useful. It sounds almost too small to matter. But here's the actual cost. An empty cup on your desk is a tiny, standing reminder of an unfinished action. I need to go wash this, sitting in your visual field for hours, sometimes all day. One more object your brain has filed under not quite resolved. Small, but it stacks on top of everything else on this list, and that's exactly the point. That's all 7. Now, here's the 2-minute test, the same kind of desk reset Japanese offices use at the end of every single day. Step 1. The surface check. Look at your desk right now and count how many objects are visible that are not actively part of what you're working on this hour. Not might need later, not usually sits there. Actively part of this hour's task. Everything else gets moved. Drawer, shelf, trash. Step 2. The 60-second reset. At the end of each workday, before you stand up, take 60 seconds and put every object back to its place. Cup washed, cables tucked, papers filed, phone away. Not because your desk needs to look nice for anyone else. Because tomorrow you deserves to sit down at a desk that isn't already asking 100 silent questions before the day even starts. A clear desk isn't about looking productive. It's about giving your brain one job at a time, instead of 40 small unfinished ones running quietly in the background all day long. So look at your desk right now. Yes, right now. And tell me in the comments which of these 7 you just spotted sitting in front of you. And if this helped you see your workspace differently, send it to the one person you know whose desk you've seen and quietly thought, how do you even find anything in there? I'll see you in the next one.